Hello, everyone. Good evening. We hope all of you guys are doing amazing in difficult times. Welcome to the very first live episode under project Visit a Mental Health Professional. Please don't forget to comment all your questions in the comment box, as we're going to take questions from the audience as well. And we would love to answer some of your questions, right? So with that being said, we're now going to start the very first live episode under our project, Visit a Mental Health Practitioner. Now, this project came into existence as a collaboration between the Healing Dove Foundation and the IHR Support Foundation. Now, the Healing Dove Foundation is a not-for-profit organization that works with a lot of youth members with an aim to reform them, with an aim to really better their lives. And how we do this is by providing a lot of academic support, training programs, psychoeducation. We hold workshops for personality development. And this is how we really, put into action our vision of empowering a lot of youth community and marginalized community members. Some of them being the LGBTQ plus community members, or the others being individuals who are specially able or have special needs. Now, the IHR Support Foundation is also a not-for-profit organization that really works towards promoting mental health. And how we do this is by holding a lot of public awareness campaigns, holding a lot of education or awareness building workshops. So this is a little bit about how Visit a Mental Health Practitioner came into existence as a collaboration between Healing Dove Foundation and IHR Support Foundation. With that being said, what really is Visit a Mental Health Practitioner project, right? So we as a team under this project believe that posting only on Instagram or Facebook about mental health is not enough. It does not suffice our need to really address our mental health concerns. One major factor that comes into addressing mental health concerns is that there are a lot of stigmas that are attached to mental health, right? Which prevents a lot of people from visiting mental health practitioners or seeking help from mental health practitioners, even when they've really needed to or wanted to. So with this project, our aim is to really explore these stigmas and figure out ways in which we can work through these stigmas and go beyond these stigmas to really push people to visit mental health practitioners when they really want to seek help. So let's talk a little bit about our guest for today. Now, our guest for today is Ms. Nitika Nagar. By profession, she is a lawyer and also a social entrepreneur. Other than that, she has worked for a number of years now with prestigious firms. She is the recipient of a very honorable scholarship, which is the DAAD scholarship, a nominee for the Women Icon Award, and also a Chancellor Gold Medal nominee, right? So these are a little bit about her and her achievements and what she does professionally. Now, a lot of you guys might be wondering why we need to talk about mental health of someone who's a contract lawyer or an entertainment and media lawyer. But here's the deal. With lawyers who work in this section, their schedules tend to be very packed, which is that their schedules are back to back. The work that they do tends to be very tedious, very meticulous, which obviously involves a lot of focusing, a lot of attention, and a lot of time that they dedicate to it without the ability to actually take breaks between their work. Now, as a lot of you can imagine, this puts them in a space where they don't really have space to breathe between their work, right? So this is why we invited a lawyer today to really understand how their very busy schedule and tedious schedule really impacts their mental health. What are the stigmas that are attached to visiting a mental health professional that they might have faced as a professional lawyer, or her colleague might have also faced as someone practicing in law, and how we can work through those stigmas, right? So with that being said, we have our guest speaker on with us today, Ms. Nitika Nagar. We welcome you, ma'am. Thank you so much for dedicating time and coming on and speaking to us. You are on mute, Nitika ma'am.
Hi, Anushka. Hi, everyone.
Hello. We hope you're doing amazing. We hope you're doing well.
I hope everyone is doing well in these very trying times.
Yes. So, before we get into really mental health and your concerns with mental health as a lawyer, tell us something about your work.
So I'm, like you said, Anushka, I'm an entertainment lawyer by profession, social entrepreneur by passion. To be very honest, being a social entrepreneur has really balanced my life out a lot, because along with being a lawyer, I'm doing something equally interesting and exciting. And it's very different from what I'm professionally doing, which is being a social entrepreneur. So I think I'm balancing my profession and my passion, which is super amazing, for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets overwhelming. I'm not really
Right.
going to be, yeah, I'm not going to be very dishonest about it, or I'm not going to just sugarcoat it and
Right.
speak to
Yeah.
you guys. But it does become pretty overwhelming being a head of an organization, at the same time being a lawyer, a senior professional. It's got its own pros and cons, but like as they say, you don't have to work a day when you're doing something that you love.
Of course.
So
Yes.
for me, the day is not about slogging and just somehow getting past those 8 hours, 9 hours, 12 hours. It is about passionately working for something I believe in. And I've always wanted to be a lawyer from the time I was 14 years old. I don't know how that dawned upon me so early on. I think it's because I was terrible in math and science.
Right.
And I had like very few options that were lucrative for me, because I took up arts in 11th and 12th. And after that, I had to think about, I mean, law was definitely on my mind, but I was also probably somewhere at the back of my mind, even, considering becoming a media professional. Anyhow, I did go for law because it was more lucrative, and my family had concerns about safety as a media professional if I were to become a journalist, reporter, or whatever. So anyway, I became a lawyer, and it's not something that I preferred under being a media professional. I preferred being a lawyer equally to a media professional. So
Right. Yes.
it was something it was always my first option. Being a media professional, I think, was something I probably considered to just weigh what was the best option for me as a career. But
Right.
anyhow,
Yeah.
I don't regret my decision, because it's something I always wanted to do. So it was going to be either this or that, and I was very clear about
Correct.
that. So
Yeah.
making a career choice was never difficult. Uh, and I enjoyed 5 years in law. They were the best years of my life, because I didn't have to do math primarily.
Yes.
But I was
Very
also
relatable to a lot of us. Very
but I,
relatable. Yeah.
but I was doing other stuff. I was reading a lot of subjects that I loved. I was researching. I was presenting papers. I had one presentation at Cambridge. So I had flown to the UK to give my presentation. And I was doing a lot of things. I was also into community service back in college before I started my own enterprise. So I had a fun time in law school. Law school was equally very hectic for me. And I did whatever I could in law school. I made gold of those 5 years, because I knew they were not coming back. I had the best academic experience of my life.
Of course. Yes.
And I got out of law school and I found myself in the real world of law, where I was finally going to practice law. I was going to be a lawyer. I was going to be a professional. I was no more a law student. So that realization dawned upon me when I got my first job. And literally I fell back on the ground. I was riding high because I was doing academically well in law school, and
Yes.
I was given a reality check when I started my first job. And I quickly realized that the world of law is not for those who have a weak spirit or a very
Yes.
laid back attitude,
Very
or
well said.
people who
Yes.
are not willing to put in those many hours and make a career.
Yeah.
It is all about working hard, putting in long hours, and at least in the initial years, putting your personal life at the back seat and just fully giving your 100%. So I got a reality check, and the initial 6 months were about getting used to a pattern of working, which is always a change from
Of course. Yes.
the kind of life you had as a law student. Nothing compares to the life that you have when you start as a lawyer.
Working. Yes. Yeah.
You have to, yeah. For me, honestly, because I had chosen my field of practice from the day I started working as a lawyer. For me to put in those long hours didn't become challenging, but definitely it was a paradigm shift from what
Right.
I was used to. I was used to working long hours in law school. I have pulled up all nighters, not just because I have to cram up before an exam, but because I was into a lot of research and writing and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of community work. So I had lots of responsibilities back then. So long hours never deterred me, or it never made me feel like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I
Yeah.
can't do this. It wasn't like a big surprise for me. But definitely, uh, the the whole idea of adjusting to something so different. I mean, they don't teach you and they don't prepare you to be a lawyer in law school.
Of
To
course.
be
You're,
very
you're
frank,
taught to be a student in college, never a professional.
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
exactly. And when you start working in the real world, it's like uh, whoever understands Marathi, it's like तुमचे जे तुमचं जे माज असतं, माज is as in your pride and your uh, you know uh,
Image that you
your
hold
I
about
know it
yourself.
all attitude, it
Yes.
all, it's like a bubble that shatters. So
You fall
you
on your
have to,
face.
yeah, and then you're like, oh, I don't know anything, so I'm literally starting from scratch.
Scratch. Yes.
So yeah, and uh, so many new things that you have to deal with. I mean, what you learn from the books, like what you've spent, years that you have spent, uh, you know, um,
Reading books after books
studying,
and more
reading.
books.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
it absolutely made no sense. Because when you start working on contracts and agreements, it's a very different ball game.
Correct.
Uh,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to kid anyone here or fool anyone here. It is absolutely new. And that
Yes.
causes major stress, because
Yes.
when you're dealing with something new, it always causes a mental block. Am I going to be able to do this? Am I doing it right?
There's a whole
You make
change that
mistakes.
happens. It's not only about a
Yeah,
change in schedule, you also start thinking about yourself, whether I'll be able to do this, what are my abilities. It's a whole
exactly.
holistic change that happens, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And you feel like, okay, is this cut out? Am I cut out for this? Not, is this cut out for me? Am
Correct.
I cut out for this? And then you have those phases of stress and self doubt. And I don't think this is restricted to only the legal profession. I think even
I think it spans
every
across.
profession, be
Yeah.
it engineering, be it medicine, be it uh, chartered accountancy. I can't really pick one profession, but in every profession, when you move from law school to professional life, you are the only change, the only thing that remains constant is change. And
Yes.
that change causes stress, and that stress is something you have to deal with because you get those feelings of incompetency.
I know,
You
I know,
feel
yes.
like, yeah, you feel like you can't move forward, but that is a phase. It
I can
happened with
imagine,
me. I
yes.
used to make lots of mistakes. I've had the first senior I've had, she literally tore her hair apart because, you know, there were basic silly oversights I used to make in my documents. I'm not going to shy from
Right.
that because that's the truth. And if I hadn't made those mistakes, I wouldn't have learned what I have today. But to be very honest, I was not a perfect first timer as a lawyer or junior lawyer. I was not perfect. And
Yeah,
I'm that
of
way
course.
somebody, unfortunately, I'm somebody who strives for perfection. And when I don't get something right, it causes stress. And it
Right.
makes me bite
Yes.
my nails and makes me overthink. And I've had those feelings where there were nights when I felt like I don't want to go to work because I'm again going to embarrass myself. I'm again going to make the same mistakes. I don't want to wake up.
I think
So,
it's very it's similar across all professions. As somebody who's now allowed to practice as a counseling psychologist under supervision, what we've learned in theory versus what a client comes in tells us. In your head, you're just like, where do I even start working with this client? There is so much to deal with. It's like you're back to ground one, like you said.
yeah.
Where do I start? What do I do? I think very relatable, and all of us go through it. Yeah,
Yeah, a
but
lot of
from
us
what?
do that. A lot of us. In fact, I'm a little senior, so I have a lot of you know, those who just stepped out of law school, though that level of, you know, first timers who are working with me, and my job is to calm them down now. I feel to explain them that
Correct. Yeah.
it's a phase. Everybody feels nervous and everyone gets anxiety when
Right.
they're dealing with you know um, a bad day. When you get into the law, into the world of actual law, your first year is going to be full of struggle. So every day is going to be a bad day.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so yeah, I mean, my work. If I were to tell you about my work in one line, it
Right.
is hectic.
Yeah.
And now definitely when I'm in the groove of it and I know what needs to be done, I know how to communicate with my clients, I know what to advise on, I know how to draft and negotiate. Of course, I'm still learning, but I know
Yes.
at least
Never
the
stops.
fundamentals
Yes.
of it, right? So I'm not in a position where I have to depend on somebody else. I need hand holding, or like I need uh I'm making those silly mistakes and I need to be reminded that, you really need to like buck up and stop making such mistakes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not at that level now, but there are times when I do make mistakes. Errors creep in, human errors
Right.
creep
Of
in.
course.
It's
Yes.
very, very rare, but they creep in.
Yes.
And I still stress
Exactly.
out. I mean, for somebody who's worked in the industry for 4 years, you may think that okay, now she knows how to deal with it. Like, it's something that she's doing. Like 4 years have passed and she must have made these silly mistakes all the time. But even when I make it today, I overthink it.
I don't think it
And
ever
I'm
stops. In general, I do
yeah,
not think
yeah. Again, I'm
it ever
telling you, that's
stops.
the thing. That's the problem with me. And I think uh, because some of us in the industry are so hard on ourselves, we don't for a minute we forget that we're human beings, and then
Right.
we
Yes.
really pressurize ourselves, and we're like, no, you should not be making so many mistakes, and you should not
Yeah.
be doing this, and you should not be doing that, and that I think leads to anxious behavior. For me, at least, it has led to me becoming very anxious. It's like obsessive after a point where I'm reading my documents again and
Yeah.
again.
You go through
Then
it
I'm
again
getting
and again
somebody
and
else
20
who's
times.
working with me to, read read it and proofread it and check it again. And then I get very hyper and frustrated if something goes wrong. So it's
Right.
like a mix of emotions, when it's like our inability. Like nobody teaches us to deal with failure.
Yes.
Everyone teaches
So
us
with
to
that being
deal with
said, like you said, yeah,
everyone teaches us to deal with
yes, very
success.
correctly.
Oh, no,
The
you should be
successes that you
there.
have,
Even the
celebrate it.
smallest success, even when it comes to one single document, you have to get it perfectly. From
but see,
when I was a kid,
yeah,
from when I was a kid, I was told ki, no, look at your friends. They are doing so well. I mean, सबको A आ रहा है, A plus आ रहा है, A minus आ रहा है, A plus plus आ रहा है, और तुम्हें हमेशा D आता है.
what are
मतलब,
you
there
doing?
has to be
Where do you
some.
stand?
तुमको B नहीं, तुम्हें B भी नहीं आ रहा है. You're not even getting a B grade. You're getting a D
Yeah, of
grade.
course, yeah.
मुझे तो कितने बार F मिला है in physics and maths. I mean, I've stopped counting.
Oh yes.
At this point. So
I'm in the
it's
same boat with you, if that makes you feel better.
it's conditioning. I'm telling you, it is conditioning from childhood. Our society doesn't
Absolutely.
teach their children to accept failure and deal with it. No, हम लोगों ने खुद सीखा है. Like मैंने खुद सीखा है कि okay, I failed a few exams. I have to move on and I have to focus on the future.
Yeah.
But nobody will teach you
See,
this
here's
because
the
the
deal.
Indian society is very like, pressure the child till they, literally give in. And then that kind of, I think, somewhere shows in your professional life also. And then you start
Obviously.
obsessing. Even in grad school,
Right.
you need to get a 4-pointer. Then in your professional life, you have to get this promotion in 2 years. Then your document has to be perfect. It drives a person.
And after that, you have to progress even more.
Exactly.
Then progress even more. It does not stop. It just does not stop.
Yeah, people will question you that, oh my God, अभी तक नहीं मिला तुम्हें promotion. अभी तो 4 साल हो गया तुम्हें job में, and अभी तक नहीं मिला promotion. अभी, it's like, they will keep taunting you, and you have those relatives,
Yes.
and then
You have those relatives. There is also friends. There's colleagues, and there's a parallel side of it too. Which there are these friends who will say, "Oh, you have it all done. Oh, you know it all. You've been in the profession for 4 years. You know your work." Doesn't stop me from doubting myself for still having my struggles.
Yeah, no, even your boss will tell you, but you don't. You are a professional. You've been doing this day in and day out. How are you making these mistakes? So, I think because people are scared, there is a fear. I think A, pressure, stress, B, the anxiety and the overthinking, and C is the fear. Fear is a very important word because the fear of failing, even in the smallest of things, it's going to call for a lot of criticism from a lot of people, including your clients.
Yes.
So I think this is my work, and this is what I go through. I don't talk to a lot of people about it. I don't tell my mother. I don't tell my friends. I don't share all of this with them because, I don't want to be seen someone who's bickering, or I don't want to keep giving them tension. But I deal with it in my own way. Sometimes my face is like, it's fallen, and my mother is asking me what's wrong, and I tell her nothing major, mom. Don't worry about it.
Nothing. I'm just tired from work today.
Yeah.
You come up with some reason. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just I think it's just a reflex in my case.
Yeah, but with all of that being said, there is a lot of pressure, like you said. There is this pressure to deal with being perfect, absolutely perfect, But now you also said that you're also a social entrepreneur, which means I can imagine that you are handling 20 million things on one hand. You're handling another 20 million things being a lawyer. Correct? So practically, there is no time in the day. Okay, because as soon as you get off your work from being a lawyer, you are still at the back of your head working as a social entrepreneur. Yeah, comes with a lot of challenges. But what do you do to deal with these? What are some of the steps that you take? Like someone asked in the comments also. What are your self-care activities?
I think the biggest therapy for me, and this may sound very, very weird to people, is that I just switch on music and I start dancing.
And I mean, why? See, as long as it works for you. If that is your form of self-care.
Music is my therapy. Expression is my therapy. I've always been very expressive. another thing I've started doing these days is going for a run.
Right. Yes.
So when I run, my stress just it starts wearing off, because the faster I run, the more stressed I am, I feel. And I kind of burn off all that steam, and I even when I'm running, the music is on high volume, which is not. Please don't try this, anyone. It's not advisable.
For yours, yes.
Not safe. Yeah, but I think that's what I do. These are the two things I do. Sometimes I talk to myself.
Of course,
It's like because
yeah,
I talk to myself. I look at the mirror. I look in the mirror and I talk to myself, and I tell her whatever I have to tell, whatever I have to say. I just blurt it. I say whatever comes to my mind, whatever is within me. I just blurt it out. And the last thing is I cry. Like at night, I'll weep. I'll sob. So I've never been embarrassed of crying in public also. I'll cry, I'll bawl, whatever works. So I think for me, these 3-4 things really work.
What works for you works for you. Yeah, what works for you works for you. It doesn't have to work for everyone else.
Yeah, if I'm going through something very deep and very serious, I will definitely visit a therapist.
Of course, yes.
And this is something that is inspired by my mom, because my mom was going through some mental health issues quite recently, because she works with the COVID-19 ward in her hospital. And she has never shied away from talking to me about how important it is to take help when necessary. She's been very encouraging. I've spoken to her so many times. I told her, do you think I should go to a therapist? I'm going through something serious, even if it's my personal life and there's something that's gone absolutely wrong. And I'm somebody who can't be so sad or so affected to a point where my work life is affected.
You stop functioning, yes.
Yeah, and I'm a very emotional person. So I go and I ask my mother, set her down. Sometimes my mother can be my therapist.
Of course.
And and I'm a single child, and my mom's raised me single-handedly. So I'm the closest to her. So I kind of talk to her about some things, but some things I feel like I need to talk to somebody professional. And because she's had her share of mental health issues, she's always been very pro visiting a mental health practitioner. So when she tells me, when I ask her, she tells me, if you think you want to go visit and that's going to really help you and it's going to really make things work, then please do it. In fact, I was
nothing better than a supportive family.
Yeah. But I was going through some very intense anger issues. I was probably in my, I don't know, I'm not sure if it was during law school or right after, but I was going through some major anger issues because of, I don't know, it was my age or it was stress. I'm not very sure what it was. I don't even clearly remember that much, but my mom and I did visit a therapist from one of our ex-hospitals. And I did talk to the therapist. I had major anger issues. Even today, I have major anger issues. But anger in the sense not to harm someone, but it harms me. Because
of course. As long as something affects you.
And anger. Yeah. Yes. It was because I think because of my stress and a lot of other factors. But I did visit that therapist with my mom, and the therapist guided us a lot. I was also fighting with her a lot at one point, which was hurtful for both of us. But I did visit, the practitioner, and we had a very long discussion. This was probably, it was end of law school and beginning of my career sometime, I feel. Because I remember it was many years ago. And I was going through a lot, many things, professional front, personal front, academically, some law school related issues also, not academic, law school related issues.
Yeah.
And yeah, I became more pro. I
Right,
became
but
more
see,
pro
that
therapy.
just goes on to show you that you do not need to wait for something to go massively wrong to go to a
Yeah,
therapist, or goes on to show
yeah,
that I do not need to have a diagnosis per se or a disorder to go to a therapist. To deal with something as simple as the emotion of anger, which I don't think anybody has not felt in their life ever, is also okay to go and talk to someone. You don't have to wait. Sometimes we feel like we just have to wait for something majorly to go wrong. Why? Even if an emotion is troubling to us, I think that should be enough for us to at least go and see someone, at least take that step.
yeah.
If not, fully get into therapy completely inside out. Even probably 2 sessions, I'm sure, might have helped you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, see, it wasn't. Uh, I mean, it was a phase probably for me. I don't
Right.
know how to categorize it. Honestly, I don't know how to describe it. Of course,
Yeah.
now, even now, I have my tempo goes off on the smallest of things. But that time, the situation was way more serious than probably what it is now, where I
Right.
was hurting people, right? And I felt like I need to figure this out before it becomes worse, right?
Before it
There was
starts
some,
affecting everything else.
yeah, and everyone else. I had very close friends, I had very close family. I didn't want to lose people just
Of
because
course, yes.
I was going through certain emotions that I was not able to handle, and these
Yeah.
outbursts had to be controlled in some way. And the therapist helped me. She really explained. I didn't do many sessions with her. I probably did one or two. And she actually explained to us a particular communication pattern that could be followed. What are the best practices? And I started meditating also.
Yeah.
I started counting a few numbers before I was about to say something rude to somebody when I was angry.
Yeah.
So
So that
all
sort
of
of stops you.
these were all very simple practices that she
Yes.
gave me. But I feel like sometimes our emotions are stemming from something way deeper that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
That could be even our past. In my case,
Correct.
definitely my past has not been very great. Without delving too deep, I would rather say that I had a difficult childhood. So I think all of that probably somewhere came out in some form. It came out in some expression, which is, of
Yeah.
course, not the best way. Like, I'm very emotional. So even when I'm suffering, I'm going through something in my personal life, I tend
Starts
to
affecting everywhere.
I tend to really behave in a way like I have this habit of spiraling. I don't know if it's a
Right.
habit, I should say habit, but it's like a
It's like one
reaction.
on top of the other, one on top of the other, and then
Yeah,
suddenly one day you find yourself at the bottom of
yeah,
the well. And
yeah,
then
yeah,
you're
yeah,
like, okay, how do I
absolutely.
climb up now?
Yeah, I mean, and then I'm really apologetic about, having those kind of episodes. So, yeah, I mean, some things, even after being a lawyer, even after being an entrepreneur, there are some things I just, even today, like people think I have a very sorted life. And people think that I'm so sorted, but,
Yes.
it's like everybody has their own demons and everyone's
Only
battling
I
their
know
own
what goes on
demons.
in my head. Right? And nobody else
Exactly.
does.
And no, even Bill Gates is going through something today. I mean, it doesn't matter how successful you are. At some point, everyone goes through struggles.
Of course.
Whatever is going on
No
in their
matter
life,
how successful you are,
adverse.
no matter how privileged you are, right?
Yeah,
My struggles still remain my struggles, irrespective of anything and everything that happens.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And something that you said when you were talking was very interesting, that when you went to therapy, you also spoke about how to communicate, how to talk, how to actually do certain very small activities like counting that can help you with your anger. So, a lot of us feel like therapy is only about just go and talk, and they'll only talk about your emotions and only surround it with emotions. Therapy goes beyond that. It's not only just talking about emotions and discussing our emotions endlessly. It's about really practical applications, our thoughts, what are patterns in our life, how our childhood is affecting how we are today. Right? So it's a very, very holistic mechanism to try and help ourselves. Right?
Absolutely.
And also, we have something in the comments, and someone says that dance helps me too. So you have a party here, you're not alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Now, we have a very, it's a very deep and personal question here. Lawyers, and I'm sure in your years of practice, or your colleagues of practice, or your colleagues in their practice, you guys work with a lot of clients at a very, very personal level, right? Some of them you hear very personal stories, very, very heart-wrenching and deep stories. And it doesn't stop there. It does not just end in office. It comes with the secondary trauma of feeling so helpless sometimes, where you cannot do much for a client even if you really want to. Or the sadness just prevails into your personal life even after finishing work. How do what would you say, and how has that really impacted your mental health?
So honestly, the reason why I didn't go become a litigator, I didn't fight for, I didn't take up criminal cases, I didn't become a criminal lawyer, was predominantly because I don't think I would have been able to
Handle that.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Because
I'm a
it's so
social
much
worker. I
depth.
think that question is more applicable to me, more as a social entrepreneur than a lawyer. So I would rather, instead of answering that as a lawyer, I would answer that as a social entrepreneur.
Of course, yes.
So I think the thing is, I think because we are so emotional, a lot of us, our choice of work is very emotional. I think my EQ has always been higher than my IQ.
I know, yes,
A
I
close
relate.
friend of mine
Yeah.
pointed that out, and I think it resonates with me a lot. That people like us who have a high EQ,
Yeah.
they want to they get so involved, and they start getting so immersed into working
Everyone
with
you meet with. Yeah.
disadvantaged communities or working with people who are suffering, that you forget to protect your own mental health. And a lot of social workers go through this. It's very important that we take care of ourselves before we can take care of others.
Others, yeah.
Right? And our work is very emotional. The reason why we
Yes.
are into helping people is because we are emotional. Because somewhere deep down, we don't know how, but we resonate.
Yeah,
And
it's
we
like
want to
this,
go out there and go on field and help them.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like this that they say that even if you want to help everyone else, you have to help yourself before that, and
Yeah.
be in a place where you can actually have the capacity to do that. A very simple analogy given to us by a teacher was, you cannot pour into someone else's cup unless yours is filled.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until your mug
Absolutely.
is filled, I cannot share it with someone else. Yeah, so that just goes on to explain that how important it is for anyone, especially lawyers in that capacity, to go seek help, or just have somewhere that they can really talk it out and help themselves and deal with mental health concerns they may have.
Hmm.
Now,
Absolutely.
with that being said, a very important question is that, as far as our context is concerned, as far as India is concerned, there are so many stigmas attached to visiting a mental health professional. It's almost like you have to be mad before you go. Yeah, this is the mentality all of us have. But what are some of the stigmas that probably you have heard of, that you have personally faced while you were, trying to seek help or visit someone who is a professional in mental health?
Honestly, I've come from a family that has been very open-minded and modern about, and very
Yeah,
progressive about therapy. Like I told you, my mom has been very, very progressive.
correct.
Because she comes from the medical fraternity, I feel she understands that therapy is very important. It's
Yeah.
more of a way of life than just treating a disorder or an illness.
Yeah.
But I can tell you the general notion of therapy, especially for being a woman, is that we are, as women, always expected to be very mentally strong. Men are very fragile that way mentally. It's the woman who has to hold them together. Woman has to hold everyone together,
Hold
except
herself
for
also
herself.
and everyone else also.
Except for herself, nobody cares about what she's going through. Lots of households, this is a concern. And women are kind of wired, since from the time they are young or maybe they come of age, that you have to deal with a lot of stuff. When you when you get married, your husband, your in-laws, then children. So you have to you have to take whatever it is in your stride, and you have to like walk with
The
your head
logic of संभाल के
high.
चल लेना चाहिए थोड़ा सा.
Yeah,
संभाल लो.
yeah.
Handle it.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
have to deal with it. The word deal with it is very key because she's literally a lot of women are left to fend for themselves. And what emotional breakdowns they go through is always, kept. I think it's
Under the
always kept
wraps.
under
Yeah.
wraps,
Yes.
and it's always it's always brushed under the carpet, and nobody talks about these things. I mean, there are so many urban middle class or urban lower class areas. Probably in the upper middle class and in the richer classes, therapy is very common. But if you go down to urban areas, rural areas, not just slum areas deep down in the chain. But even if you go to urban lower class or middle class, the word therapy, nobody would understand what the
Not
real
even heard of.
meaning.
Yes.
Yeah, they will be like, अच्छा पागल है क्या? तो इसको डॉक्टर
Take her
के
to the
पास
priest.
भेजते हैं क्या? उसको दवाई मिलेगी क्या? उसको कहीं पे रख देंगे क्या थोड़ी देर के लिए?
Or
Like
go
a
to the temple.
yeah, and then no, they will do superstitious, practices. I mean, it is what I feel is that as a society, there are miles to go when
Therapy is concerned.
therapy is concerned, and also to convince and break that stigma, it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
Because this is a very Western concept for a lot of people in India. Mental health comes. See, even you need to understand that we're a developing nation, and mental health doesn't come as a priority. We are more focused on livelihood, food, and the other basic necessities. That is what the economy is striving to provide.
Of course.
People are striving to provide. That is always going to be the first requirement, the perquisite.
See, that just, it's very evident.
I think 60% of the people in our nation, in our country, are fighting to survive. And that is the reality. So even when I was looking at, I've been observing the COVID-19 pandemic very closely. From the time it started, the focus right now is to provide relief in terms of medical care, in terms of food, in terms of whatever other amenities are there to survive, as opposed to mental health. Nobody's talking about mental health as much as people are talking about physical care, medical care. They aren't talking about it right now.
What happens to doctors who literally live in a room full of people who are suffering from COVID-19 and see deaths every probably 5-10 minutes at the rate which our country is at? And I'm sure that you've had first-hand experience of those experiences because, like you said, your mother is working there.
Absolutely.
Right? Yes,
and I won't delve deep into what she went through, but she also went through a very tough phase, which I have seen, the family has seen, and she's a very strong woman. She got out of it with the necessary help, but psychologically she was not in the best space. And we take it for granted. That day I realized how much we're taking frontline workers for granted.
Yes,
unless you don't live with a frontline worker, you will not understand I mean, all my very close friends at least have one frontline worker living with them. Either
Yeah,
their father or their mothers, or their sisters. And let me tell you, they are the people who understand that
right.
right now it's a war zone out there. And it's not just about medical care, it's also about mentally how doctors are breaking down. Not just doctors, there are many other frontline workers, there
Of
are
course, we have
nurses,
nurses, we have sanitation
you
workers.
have firefighters,
Yeah,
you have even the cleaners and the sweepers in hospitals,
right.
the municipality officials.
Imagine
Uh,
the plight of people who are
yeah,
providing oxygen every 2 minutes. There's someone giving them a call for oxygen. It
yeah,
is very
yeah.
difficult. But like you said, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a doctor, whatever profession it is, go the moment you talk about visiting a mental health practitioner, you automatically are pagal or you are mad. And this
Yeah, like
prevents a lot of us.
there was just one point, Anushka, I wanted to highlight, which
Yeah,
I trailed off a little from. I did mention that as a woman, I feel there is more stigma because a woman is expected to hold everything together.
yeah,
And her emotional breakdown is looked at a sign of weakness.
of
And it
course.
is like, natak kar rahi hai, usko jam nahi raha hai, things like that. And
Yeah.
why do you need it? So as
And
a
if a
woman,
woman can't
I've
hold
seen
it together, तो
I've
फिर
seen
घर
a
का
lot
क्या?
of instances. In fact, we are so patriarchal as a society. I mean, every discussion of mine also goes to a patriarchal angle
Yeah,
because
yeah,
men are also deterred from taking help. Men also have to be very macho. They have to be very strong all the
of
time.
course, yes.
And I mean, as a woman, I've seen more women suffering and more women being
Yeah,
stigmatized.
yeah,
But I've seen men equally not being allowed to express themselves. They have to
yes,
keep it very under wraps when they are going to visit a therapist. So I think it is tough for both genders in a country
yeah,
like
yeah.
ours. And also, a country like ours doesn't right now is not understood the importance of maintaining mental health. Like I said, even during COVID-19, I'm seeing a lot of focus on physical health care. I'm not
Yes.
on medical, the medical things, which is very important.
Of course,
I'm
yeah.
not undermining that at all.
Yes.
But
But that
mental
doesn't
health
go on to
is
say that
not,
psychological help is not important.
and I don't see mental health right now. I think it started picking up a little, but if you go down to the urban middle class, lower class, in the rural areas, you won't even see a mention of it. People don't
Yeah.
even know what it is,
It's
right? So
equal to
I think,
non-existent.
yeah, and there is a stigma, gender,
Yes.
there's gender specific stigma, and there's just a overall stigma.
There's gender specific stigmas, there's societal stigmas that comes with it. We're also very misinformed about what therapy is, so that in itself becomes another stigma again, right? Now, before we move on to our list of questions, there's a very interesting question that someone in the comments asked, right? It says that if you could go back to when you were a student, if you could go back to, early, go back to your phase of being a student, what would you tell yourself? Or to put it in another way, if you know someone who's currently studying law, right, you know for a fact that they are going to be thrown out in the real world, dealing with a lot of personal cases, very busy schedules, correct? So if you had to tell them one thing about how to take care of their mental health, what would that be?
I would definitely tell my younger self or anybody. I mean, this applies to both anyone who's even studying
Yeah,
law right now or looking to probably in their penultimate year or in their final year and is looking
yeah,
out to step out. I would really tell both these, my younger self and my juniors, that chill in life,
yeah.
like just chill.
It's
Okay,
not a rat race. Yes,
it's not a rat race. It's not the end of the world. Easier said than done, but I've been
of
in your
course, yeah,
position. Like I've been in those shoes. So please chill. Okay, yes, I know it's a very tough time, especially for final year students right now. it's been very hard for even the last batch that passed out. Opportunities
Yeah,
are
yeah.
less.
Very few,
The
yes.
market is grim. Situation is bad. All said and done, everything right now looks very cloudy and gloomy, but change is the only constant. You're not going to be in the same position and situation for the next 5 or 10
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Things are going to improve, opportunities are going to come, markets are going to open. You will get a job. Don't worry about it. And job is not like the end goal. You need to
Right,
be
yes.
content with your, you have to be very content with what you're doing, because remember, you're doing it for the next 40 to 50 years or probably 60 years of your life.
Yes, yes.
Because law is an evergreen profession. There is
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
called retirement for
Retirement.
practicing law.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're going to court and you're not going to get employed in a company or a firm, you are going to be in all probability practicing for an entire lifetime. You cannot afford to do something you don't like. If you feel like you cannot become a lawyer, don't become a lawyer. I know people who have changed professions and they
Yes.
are much happier in the new profession that they've selected.
Yes, yes. Why not?
It's never too late. See, age is just a number, right? At you guys are, how old are you guys? I mean, you all are what, 22,
23,
20?
24. Yeah, yeah.
What, I mean, I'm 27 and I may want to probably switch to becoming a social entrepreneur full time. And I may want to give up my law career. I may want to do whatever. I'm not going to be deterred. I know people who are
Yeah.
into acting and they are becoming lawyers. I know people who are engineers becoming lawyers. I mean, people change careers even later on. This whole
Yes.
idea and notion of settling down in open inverted commas is very outdated. आजकल कोई सोचता नहीं है कि
Yeah.
by 22 graduate, by 25 get married, by 27 have kids, and then
Yeah.
by
It's like a
40
timeline.
retire.
It's like a checklist you have.
Nobody
One after the other.
set that timeline. See, you have to work as per your pace. You have
Yeah.
to live your life as per
Yeah.
your goals and ambitions, because in the end you're competing with yourself. You're not competing with anybody else. You have to be a better version of yourself. You have to do what you love and love what you do, right? And I think that's the mistake people make,
Yeah.
law students make, is that they feel like everybody is taking interviews, everybody is sitting for campus placements,
I
everybody
think
is
that
putting up
goes
their resume,
across
everybody is doing
professions. Yeah.
report, everybody is doing conferences, everybody is
Yeah.
doing presentations, everybody is doing debates. तो चलो हम लोग भी कर लेते हैं, CV अच्छा लगेगा. And then these placement cell guys are always saying stuff like, recruiters look at moot courts. They look
I know.
at
Yeah.
paper
Yeah.
presentation. And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, they don't look at all of that. They look at what is your practical exposure, what is it? Because
Right.
ultimately you're not going to represent them in moot courts, right? Law firms. You're going to be working on real cases for real clients.
Your people.
Nobody
Yes.
is going to care how many moot courts you want. You go to bloody Jessups also, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Because after a point, that is not the real world. You will be very confident. You will be very.
I think that matters more than how many moot courts you have and what is your list
You
of
will
moot.
really. I'm not undermining it, but I'm just giving you a reality check that you will obviously pick up certain skills. I'm not saying it's a waste and don't do it, but
Of
don't
course.
feel
Yes.
like your life is dependent on it. I mean, I know people who will literally break down, jump off a cliff if they fail a moot. And I'm like, I
I think
mean,
we have to learn to treat what we do professionally and
yeah,
personally more as experiences rather than full stops.
exactly.
It's
And when you do that,
Yeah.
I think you are at a better position.
Of
I know
course,
people
because
who
then
did
you're looking
nothing
to
in
grow.
law school. I know people who have done nothing in law school and today are partners in law firms. They have their own law firms. So honestly speaking, the real world starts when you're out of law school and not when you are inside law school. So I would tell my younger self to chill. I mean, that's the only thing I would tell her. I would tell her,
Yeah.
listen, go out there and live your life, because I don't feel like I struck that balance in law school. I was not, I never taught myself to be an
Yeah.
18-year-old. I didn't let go. And now I feel like I would have probably let go a little, it wouldn't have harmed my life or made any
Yeah.
major
So,
difference.
two very important takeaways from what you have said, right? One of it is that not to treat anything in your life, whether it is school, whether it is moot court or a job, as a full stop. It's more about experiences and learning than saying that checklist 1 done, 2, 3, 4, everything checked off, right? Treat it as an experience. You will learn, you will grow, and take it as that so you can keep moving ahead. Right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Now, we were talking about stigmas, right? So, if you had to give us maybe a couple of ways on how we could go beyond these stigmas that are attached to visiting a mental health professional, what would you tell us? How do we get beyond these stigmas? How do we go through them?
Honestly, don't care about what people are saying.
Yeah.
Do what's best for you, because these are not the people who fend for you. They are not the people who take care of you. You are
Yeah.
responsible for yourself. I mean, तुम्हारे चाचा, mama, whoever it is, kaka, auntie, they don't care about you. They
Yeah.
only, I mean, I'm not generalizing, not trying to generalize, but honestly speaking, they don't care about you as much as you care about yourself. So it's
Right.
very important that you think about yourself, what's best for you, and just do that. You don't need to justify it to anybody, and be absolutely bold and honest about it. You went to a
Yeah.
therapist. Yeah, I went to a therapist, dude. And I'm not abnormal. It's not abnormal. I'm not mentally ill, or I don't have a disorder. I just have certain emotional challenges. I want
Which I want to
strategies to
talk
cope
about.
with that. I'm
Right.
very, yeah, I'm a very normal, very fully functional person. I am absolutely capable of leading a very, very, very regular life
Yes, and
without
handling
any.
myself.
Exactly, but I need help. I'm a human being.
Yes.
Ultimately, all humans have emotions. They go through hard emotional struggles. Some some handle it, let it
The
pass,
others need help.
hide it, or whatever. I mean, just suppress it. And some people want an out, and they go and they consult somebody who can help them.
Yes.
Everybody doesn't know everything, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I would just tell people that the more you start going out there and visiting a mental health practitioner, the more people will be inspired, and the more the situation will be normalized. And the
Yes.
idea of
So
going to a MHP will be normalized.
yes, very correct. And I think that applies to students like me also who are studying psychology. I think studying psychology also comes with, oh, you're a psychology student. How can you visit a mental health professional? If you can't handle yourself, then what are you going to give therapy to others? I think when you said that I need help sometimes is a takeaway that I personally or students like me can also take. Just because I'm studying psychology, I don't know it all. And it is okay to ask for help.
Absolutely, it's
Yes.
okay.
Right. So now, for everyone who is thinking, I want to visit a mental health practitioner, but I don't know what to do, like Nitika said, go do what works for you. It's important to do what works for us. And I think that's one takeaway we have for anyone who has their doubts, whether if I should go and what do I do. Yeah. Now, that one last question that we have is, how do you think lawyers can benefit from actually talking to mental health professionals?
Well, they can benefit like anybody else does. They can definitely talk about their pressures. They can learn how to manage their stress better, because that is an unending part of our career. Stress
Yeah.
is like it's like second nature. It's gonna be at every step. So when you visit
Right.
a mental practitioner, you will learn how to manage stress. You will learn how to manage anxiety, criticism. You will learn how to manage frustration. Clients sometimes require a lot of help and a lot of hand holding on a lot of matters. which is not their fault because they are not from the
Yeah,
legal
yeah,
background. But that level of patience, level-headedness, and temperament needs to be developed.
yeah,
So a mental health practitioner, if you're not able to do it, it doesn't naturally come to you. A mental health practitioner can help you deal with it.
yeah,
And lawyers are also human beings. So beyond just the career and the profession, I think as human beings, lawyers can just go and visit a mental health practitioner, whatever they're going through on the personal front, emotional front,
yes,
they
yes,
can
of course.
address it through the right form of therapy and the
Yeah,
right kind of.
right. And one more thing very interesting you said is that once you learn how to deal with your emotions, you're probably able to work with clients better because they come with their own set of emotions. And as soon as
Exactly,
you
like
know how to handle them,
so many clients are always very panicky and they're very anxious because it's a big deal at stake and they really
yeah,
need the lawyer to advise them. So that's when you have to keep your calm. You can't lose it in the face of
yes,
adversity
yes.
because you already have an anxious and a panicky client. So it's gonna just spoil the show when you
It's
lose
not
your temper.
helping anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't
Like,
think straight and you can't can give a correct advisory if you're not in the best
yeah,
state of
yeah.
mind.
Right. So just goes on to say that visiting a mental health practitioner as a lawyer is not only about, it's about taking care of yourself and becoming a better person, becoming a better lawyer, right? So it helps you professionally as well as personally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct. So we're going to end with one last question from the audience, which is if you had to tell us one biggest struggle you had as far as mental health is concerned while you were setting up your Healing Duff Foundation. Yeah. If you had to tell us very quickly one struggle, what would that be? And how did you work through that?
Um, I this just it's very nostalgic because it takes me back to 3 years or 4 years before when I was completely new to the field of social entrepreneurship and I was figuring my way out, setting up my organization.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, I was in very new territory, no MSW, BSW, nothing, no degree
Nothing, nothing. Yeah.
in social entrepreneurship. Just a few volunteering gigs that I had done
Yeah.
and worked with a few NGOs. Uh, that new territory was a struggle. Finding my way, setting up the organization, and learning how to run it
Yes.
with everything at the bare minimum. That was a struggle for me. And
Right.
that made me question my ability to do it. But
Yeah.
I feel like
Self
at that
doubt.
point
Yes.
I was very determined and very committed. So I found a way out, but I'm still finding my way. So it's never a foolproof process.
Yes.
You're
But
always
yeah.
figuring things out. Yeah,
But like you said, throughout the whole life, which is that change is the only constant, right?
absolutely. And you
Yeah.
have to
And you
cope
learn
with
to
it.
work through those changes. And
Exactly. You will.
like we discussed,
Ultimately.
yes, it's
Yeah,
not a full stop. It is absolutely not a full stop. It is only another experience. Correct.
absolutely. Yeah,
With that being said, I think this was a great conversation about mental health, your personal struggles, also giving us an insight about how every professional can visit, or every person can also visit a mental health professional if
yeah,
required. And
absolutely.
why not? Let's break through the stigmas and let's actually do it and encourage each other to also visit mental health professionals. With that
Absolutely.
being said, we thank you so, so much for joining us, for taking the time out and taking the effort to talk to us. I'm hoping a lot of us have gained new perspectives or understood ways to deal with our own mental health. Before I
Absolutely.
end, a big thank you to your mother for being a frontline worker from all of us. And also, just reminding everybody that we are going to be having this series under Visit a Mental Health Practitioner every Friday at 7 p.m. on the Visit MHP Facebook page, which is where we are having it today. So don't forget to join us. We'll see you next Friday. Please take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to the audience for joining and sending all your questions. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everyone. Thank you for having me, Anushka.
You're welcome.
Pleasure.
Such an honor. Yes.
Bye, everyone. Take care.